Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Brush with danger. It could have happened to anyone, said 22-year-old Bertram Calvert of Thursday evening's Brush with Danger. He, his 19-year-old sister, and 5 friends had to be airlifted to safety after floodwaters left them marooned in this Montego Bay community. On Friday, the young man and his mother, Anjanelle Powell, sought to explain what decisions led up to the incident that raised many eyebrows, as it came mere weeks after 2 members of another family drowned in the city. Calvert explained to reporters that he often goes for a swim in the river during the summer when the taps run dry. Thursday was special, as the outing was a way to spend time with his younger sister and friends before he leaves for a work and travel trip this Saturday. I know the people will ask why were we at the river while it was raining and all of that. It is just a situation where we were not prepared for, or we weren't aware of the environment, so it took us by surprise. It could have happened to anyone, stated Calvert. He said they got to the river at 10 a.m. and decided to leave soon after 2 p.m. when they noticed the water was becoming rough and the sky bleak. But a sudden gush of water left them marooned on a patch of land. Calvert told his mother, who called him on her way home from work, that they were stuck and she called the police. The group members were about a 12-minute walk from the main road and the rescuers had trouble finding them. It was about 5 p.m. when they were finally spotted, but the rescuers had no way of getting to them. By then, Paul was also at the scene. As she waited for her children's rescue, she was struck by how quickly things had changed from that morning when she gave them permission to go for a swim. When it began to rain, where she was, she checked on them, but it was still sunny where they were. As she waited, she tried to keep it together so her children would not panic. She watched as her son led the group in song and prayer. They appeared in good spirits, though the water were rising around them. I prayed for them before the emergency team arrived, just to give them a sense of ease, said Calvert, who is a second-year hotel and resort manager student at the University of Technology. He has been a Christian for more than 7 years. He and the others were finally rescued by members of the Jamaica Defense Force with support from firefighters on the ground. A grateful Calvert was overjoyed to see his mother when the aircraft touched down in an open lot. The mother and son have heaped praises on everyone who played a role in the rescue. Their ordeal took place on the same day the St. James Municipal Corporation recognized rescuers who saved Beres and Shannon Walters from floodwaters that claimed the lives of 12-year-old Janelle Walters and her 68 grandmother, buried on April 19. The corporation also on that day officially ended its search to recover the elderly woman's remains. Manchester councillors condemn mob killing. On Thursday, the day that 62-year-old Shefton Campbell had planned to marry his fiancée at a resort in Trelawney, councillors in Manchester were mourning his gruesome and barbaric death after he was mobbed in this south-central town a week ago. Campbell, who was described as a well-respected citizen and dedicated community member of Victoria Town in southern Manchester, died after a beating by a mob on Low Manchester Road in what police theorized was a case of mistaken identity. 2 people have so far been identified on the National Closed-Circuit Television CCTV surveillance system, Jamaica Eye, as being involved in his killing. During a meeting of the Manchester Municipal Corporation on Thursday, Councillor Claudia Morant-Baker, Force Division Jamaica Labour Party, questioned the events that happened mid-afternoon on May 6 as she reflected on Campbell's service in his community. His demise has impacted our community and his family in a negative way. Today, Thursday, should have been his wedding. We all want to know, why didn't you take him to the police station? Why didn't someone say stop? Why didn't someone just listen to him, given the opportunity to defend himself or explain himself? Morant-Baker questioned. You stole from a decent man, a man who believes in volunteerism, a humble soul, a role model, an honest man, she added, while sending a message to the people who beat Campbell. Based upon someone who cried wolf, you were quick to fire a blow. You didn't stop to use other methods. You could have prevented an innocent death. I hope you're doing a self-search. I hope you decide to visit the police station and make a report, because that is what will make a difference, added Morant-Baker. Head of the Manchester Police Superintendent Lloyd Darby said investigators are enhancing footage from Jamaica Eye to identify more people who were involved in the incident. It is really an embarrassment to any semblance of public order and civility, said Darby, as he reiterated his appeal for people who witnessed the incident and videotape it to come forward and give a statement. Whatever was captured on the phone has no use unless we have somebody who comes in and states that they were the recorders of that footage, he said. Darby said he was a part of a grieving counting session at the Victoria Town Primary School on Wednesday, where Campbell was a board member. When you heard the accounts from people he grew up with, it was really a touching situation, said Darby. Councillor Maria Mitchell, Belfie Division, People's National Party said mob attacks are dangerous trends that ought not to be condoned. It is of great concern to us, and it's something that should be condemned. Manchester has always been known as a parish of being civil. It is indeed an embarrassing situation, said Mitchell. I hope that the matter can come to a closure as soon as possible, as the relevant investigations are done, and let the chips fall where they may, because whether the gentleman was a criminal or not, he cannot be accosted and the public take the matter of justice or the law into their own hands. It is a dangerous trend, added Mitchell. He said, for the sake of the family and the community, the probe should be dealt with swiftly and closure given to Campbell's family and community. Mandeville Mayor Donovan Mitchell, who was absent from Thursday's meeting, told reporters on Monday that Campbell's death was heartrending. It is quite an unfortunate situation, however. This is not a situation that we can condone as a people. We have to allow the police to do their job. I think we ought to behave better as a nation, as a people, he said. Health Minister suggests flexible work contract options for nurses. Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton is suggesting that nurses pursuing job opportunities overseas opt for flexible contracts, which will allow them to continue working in Jamaica. I would like to see the day when a nurse can work in Miami 3 months and come back to Jamaica and work for 2 months, and I am prepared as a minister to put a policy in place to lobby with the hospital in Miami or in England, where 130 nurses migrated to last year, and say to the UK government or to the hospital in Miami, give them a flexible contract, let them work up there and work down here because we need them, and we know that you need them too, he said. Tufton was speaking during the International Nurses Day press briefing and launch of National Nurses Week held at the Terra Nova All Suite Hotel in St. Andrew on Thursday. The health minister contended that this and other flexible arrangements are and will have to be the future of healthcare. I would like to see the day, and we're working on it, where a nurse can study at the University Hospital of the West Indies in the classroom and go to a hospital in Miami to do clinical rotation. We collaborate around training because the truth is there's a shortage everywhere, he said. Tufton stressed that there is a bigger vision at play that will have to be worked out to retain Jamaican healthcare workers, especially nurses. He reminded that the government is implementing a digital health information system to increase efficiency and build out the infrastructure of the island's hospitals and health centers, which will improve the work environment for healthcare workers. What this is going to mean in principle is that we want to offer more people positions in the system, not contract positions, permanent positions, so that they work in a more predictable manner around hours of work, where they get time to do other things including rest, and they have guaranteed around job security. That is going to make a bigger and better difference, more efficient nurse healthcare worker, Tufton said. He added, we are building on the challenges of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic, and we're building for a better tomorrow and a more resilient health system, and you nurses are likely to be the biggest beneficiary, and rightfully so, he stated. Nigel's bold appeal. Dr. Nigel Clark has made an emotional appeal for patients to disgruntled public sector workers, saying that the marathon compensation review is now in the home stretch and finish line is in the sight. Dr. Clark, the finance minister, pleaded the government's case in a column published in the newspaper as the Andrew Holness administration battles to recover from a bruising week of industrial action in the public sector that has cost the country millions of dollars and widened a thrust deficit between the state and its employees. Given a detailed chronology of the compensation review, Dr. Clark noted that many people were convinced that, while it was necessary, it would never happen given the inordinate complexity of the exercise, the sheer breadth and range of its application, the magnitude of the changes required, and the risk to any government that embark on such a process. He said, though, that with the support of public sector unions and the dogged determination of many, the country is now within striking distance of the most profound and comprehensive structural changes to public sector compensation by any administration. These changes are designed to simplify public sector compensation overall, improve transparency, increase equity and fairness, and improve compensation levels while retaining the sustainability of Jamaica's finances, Dr. Clark said. He pointed to what he described as Jamaica's tortuous economy and fiscal experience over the last several decades and acknowledged that the wage freeze agreements by public sector workers over the past 12 years across administrations has not been easy. In fact, it has been excruciatingly difficult, and there have been unspoken costs for one, faith and trust in government as a permanent institution across time to deliver for public sector employees has suffered over this period, Dr. Clark stated. Despite the success of heads of agreements signed between the government and union leaders, the trust deficit between government and the public sector employee widened. In addition, the wells of public sector dissatisfaction with respect to compensation swelled, he argued. However, the wage restraint, he said, was necessary for Jamaica's economic survival. And for completeness, Jamaica made a conscious and explicit social policy choice to retain the employment base of the public sector and instead pursue fiscal wage adjustment through sustained wage restraint instead of through workforce reduction. He said that while some bargaining groups were ahead of government in their aggregation for change, what was needed instead was a comprehensive across all of government compensation reform. The administration, Dr. Clark said, was able to generate support from unions and bargaining groups over the last 5 years to await the government-wide compensation reform. However, the consultations with all groups, he said, will take time and must be sequenced. For better or worse, we have made a decision to conclude consultations with 47 central government unions and bargaining groups first, to be followed by the 140 public bodies. Conditioned on progress with central governments that facilitate timely implementation, we project to engage public bodies by November, more or less consistent with the timeline provided to the National Water Commission (NWC), he explained. Last week's slate of industrial action began on Tuesday morning when NWC workers cut supplies island-wide for 2 days. That was followed on Thursday by air traffic controllers who stopped working over a faulty radar system. That action closed the island's airspace, affecting at least 10,000 travelers and costing the country millions of dollars in lost revenue. But as the air traffic controllers returned to work Thursday night, the Jamaica Civil Service Association, JCSA, indicated its intention to call a strike if the government failed to address the organization's concern about claims it wanted settled in advance to the compensation review. On Friday afternoon, though the JCSA withdrew the strike notice after the meeting with Dr. Clark, noting the week of disruption, Dr. Clark asked public sector employees to be patient. We need the same patience which allowed the hardworking teams to complete 4 years of work, setting up the policy framework for this reform, engaging the public sector about its key elements, procuring and engaging the services of multinational consultants, collecting and analyzing data on 110,000 jobs, designing and completing surveys, modeling, forecasting, and communicating, he said in the column. After enduring the road phase of this reform marathon, we have now entered the stadium and are actually on the home stretch. In full visibility of the finishing line, it is supreme patience that got us here. As close as we are, we cannot now afford to collapse on the track. Instead, fueled by the same patience, for just a few more months, we can make it across the finish line, the finance minister stated. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.